Stephen F. Austin had been gone for half a year and was eager to be back home in San Felipe. It would not be that easy. In January, as he made his way back to Texas, armed riders stopped Austin as he arrived in Coahuila. These soldiers insisted he was under arrest. What were his charges? The arresting officers had no idea. Even so, Austin was heading back to Mexico City. Austin's reckless letter to Musquiz had caused quite the stir across the breadth and length of the nation. The Bear Jefe Politico had not opened it, and thus avoided being implicated by its contents. His assistant, though, had unsealed the message and circulated it to the other civic leaders in Bear. Austin's bold recommendations made people nervous. Musquiz might be sympathetic to the American colonists, but he refused to be seen cooperating with them. None of the Mexican officials in Bear wanted that, so they decided to make it the governor's problem. Authorities in Saltillo also refused and shuffled the documents on to Mexico City. Prudent Mexican politicians knew better than to choose sides in these unsettled times. When Austin's letter arrived in Mexico City, Vice President Valentin Gomez Farias felt betrayed. He had given the American colonists all they had asked for, except separate statehood. Had Austin been lying the whole time he was in Mexico City? Was he in fact a rebel? An American spy? A secessionist? Clearly, Austin, whom Gomez Faria trusted and admired, had not been telling the whole truth in their recent negotiations. Mexican soldiers took Austin to the capital and tossed him in jail. Austin looked guilty. Authorities in Mexico City saw him as the face of unrest among the American colonists. Rumors about agitators had been circulating for years. Their rough handling of Mexican soldados in Nacogdoches, Velasco, and Anahuac had not been forgiven. Austin was caged. If there was to be a rebellion in Tejas, it would have to occur without their most gifted politician. The American colonists knew nothing of this change of events. When they received news at last that Austin was on his way home, they celebrated the triumph. He had sent word that Mexico had granted nearly all their requests. Legal immigration from the United States could resume. Mexican troops would not return. Then they learned of Austin's detention by the most ardent Federalist in Mexico. They were confused. Austin was too. How long would he be held, and on what charges? Gomez Farias would not, could not answer that question. In April 1834, President Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna returned to Mexico again. The Puro Federalists, including his own vice president, were simply out of control. Santa Anna, El Caudillo, announced that Mexico was not yet ready to become a Federalist republic. Certainly not the kind that Gomez Farias envisioned. So, Santa Anna deposed his own caretaker government. The people, Santa Anna believed, were too ignorant of democratic institutions and processes. What they needed was order and discipline. The church would provide structure to society. The army would enforce the law. These were the very people, the very institutions that Gomez Farias was attempting to reform. Clearly, bishops and generals had complained to El Caudillo. Santa Anna now acted the part of a centralist. Austin languished in a Mexican city jail, facing an uncertain future.